What's up, CW fans? Today we're going to talk about the packet cluster, the DX cluster, the cluster, or any of the DX spiders, DX heat, DX summit, stuff like that, as well as N1MM and connecting to these clusters. So I think what we really need to do is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up N1MM here and get things connected, and we can maybe start from there. So I've got, well, it looks like I have an old contest here. I think this is the sweepstakes CW contest, but that's all right. We'll just leave it. Um, and what a lot of folks do is when they do the assisted category in contests, they will connect to something called the packet cluster or the cluster. And what that means is, and we should probably maybe take a step back and do some history here. Back in the day, before we were internet connected, there was no way to know what was on as far as DX is concerned, what frequencies they were on, stuff like that. So what a lot of folks did is they'd get on the 2-meter repeater locally and say, hey, you know what, I hear, Oscar November 1 Uniform Delta is on 40 meters on 7039.0, something like that. So we would, people would always have their 2-meter radios on, and they would be listening, and they'd be like, okay, cool, there's some DX on, and you can kind of go work it. So it was kind of like, a friendly network of sharing information on what DX was on the radio and what people were listening to, and it was really old-fashioned ways of just scanning the bands and seeing what you could hear. So fast forward to, I think it was the late 80s, maybe very early 90s, 90, 91, 92, this thing called the packet cluster. I think that's actually what it was called. It was packet cluster was invented. And what a lot of folks did is they had 2-meter radios that connected to something called a TNC. And I know there's videos out there that talk about how do you get on VHF packet. And what it was a packet broadcasting network. So you'd have you'd connect to these clusters, and or you'd connect to a machine or another machines. Like, for example, I'm in the South Chicago area, and we always connected to this packet node called K9AJ, and that was Mike McGear. I think he still has a packet cluster node up. But on 2-meter packet, you would connect, and you'd have like exactly what you see in N1MM. Here, let's do that. So you go down to Window here, click on Telnet, and you might be kind of wondering, well, why do you even call it Telnet? Why is it Telnet? Well, Telnet's a protocol or program that allows you to connect to things, via, text essentially. And what it looks like is this, and this is kind of like really what it looked like when you're on a 2-meter packet. You'd connect to a cluster, and it would show you like this. A lot of the commands are all the same, like it usually was. And what happens is when you connect to it like this, you can see it, you enter your call sign, and there's some automation here. So it says enter your call. I threw my call in there. It knows who I am because I've registered before. And essentially, you just keep it up like this. And over time, as you can kind of see with the color here, which let's make it bigger so everyone can see it better. So over time, as DX starts to come on frequency and they start doing stuff like, Delta Papa 6 Alpha, they're on ready. So somebody like K1VW, get my head out of the way, K1VW was hearing or working DP6A. So what he wound up doing is submitting a spot so that it gets broadcast to everybody, and now everybody knows that DP6A is on that frequency and they're operating ready. So that's kind of cool. Now, back in the day, since we didn't have internet, or internet was not widely propagated yet, what would happen is the nodes that we would connect to, they would then be communicating with other nodes. So, all of the ones in Chicago, and then maybe, some long haul packet nodes via the 70 centimeter band. You would then connect all of these nodes that you would connect to in the packet cluster. So, when somebody in Michigan, for example, would spot somebody, us in Chicago would know, because that spot would then propagate over to all the nodes that were in Chicago and all the people that were connected to all the nodes in Chicago. So probably would be good to have like a cool graphic to show like what that node distribution looked like, but I don't have one. But basically, so that's the history where you would have, 2-meter packet cluster would be connected, and we would just be sharing all of these spots, as they call them, on what's happening on the bands. And you can just kind of like kick back and watch like we're doing right now, watch what's getting spotted throughout the bands. It looks like 10 meters is pretty open right now, and I think there's an RTTY contest. So you've got the folks here like N4NT, K3VJW. They are spotting the fact that there are folks on these various frequencies. It tells you what the time was of the spot. And there's also a notes field in the middle here. You can see like worked all Europe RIDI contest. It looks like it's going on. This person's on RIDI. That person's on RIDI. This person's on CW. They're in the CW part of the band. This is the expedition that's going on. I tried to grab them this morning on on 40 meters, excuse me, and was unsuccessful. But they're listening up 1.5, so it's kind of like handy information when you're trying to chase DX or do something like within a contest. And this is where you can start fast forwarding to today. I don't know that there's a ton of packet clusters out there anymore. Everything's internet connected. But because we still like kind of harken back to the old school technology, we still use things like Telnet, which is basically a text-based communicator program to be able to grab information. So that's why we call this Telnet, because it actually, uses the Telnet protocol. And I'll give you a good example of, if you go to your command prompt, for example, and you type in, I think, telnet dxc.k9aj.net. I think that's it. So you can telnet to these packet clusters just kind of like raw old school style. So if I put in my call sign, boom, this is exactly what we used to do back in the day. And it's like, okay, cool. I'm connected to the K9AJ cluster via telnet. And now I'm going to start getting all of the packet spots, and it's also going to beep every time also, as you can hear that in the background possibly. So this is what it used to look like back in the day. You just kind of like watch it. Now we don't really have to, watch it so much anymore. There's like alerting and alarming capabilities and stuff like that. And even cooler, here, let's get out of here. No, yeah, goodbye. Quit, see you later, goodbye, connection lost, and then, oops, let's get out of there. So now we've got the ability to do Telnet within N1MM, which is kind of cool. And you'll be able to see that there's, some buttons at the bottom of the screen here that can allow you to do different things. And one of my favorite buttons is this SHDX, which is a quick command to show all the DX that's happening. And it basically lists, like, I think it's the last 40 or 50 DX spots that had happened. And don't forget that these are called spots for every person that's out there. And the neat thing is, now that we're kind of hanging out with N1MM, is if you pull up the band map, which you can go to Window and then click on band map right here, and it'll pull up this thing called band map. You'll see that it's connected to my radio. I've got the FTDX 101 MP here, and it's I'm on 28.485, which is cool. And you'll be able to see, like, wow, here's like a representation of the band on the left-hand side. So we got 28.350, 28.400, etc. And look at this. We've got different DXs all of the spots that happened on the packet cluster here show up on our band map, which is really cool. Now what we could do is, like, let's see, I need K3RA for some reason, or maybe I'm working a contest or something, and it's like, hey, I need to, like, get some of these folks. You'll see that this K3RA is a different color, and depending on the contest, N1MM colors them in different ways, because it looks like all of these are sideband, right? And because I have the November sweepstakes CW contest loaded, it's going to gray these out as something that's probably not something that you really care about, right? And that would make sense. However, it looks like K3RA may be something that we care about. But what we could do is we can click on that and look at my frequency on my radio changed, and we went right on that person's frequency. So that makes, like, contesting super easy and maybe super fun. But yeah, I was gonna see if there's any other folks out here. Yeah, look at all of these spots out here. But quite frankly, most of these, I think, are from the RTTY contest. There's very few, like down in the CW band, for example. Here, I'm going to click on OX3XR, and then boom, it puts my radio on 28.001.96, which is what that spot was. So boom, I can go there, I can listen to it, maybe work that person, and then, if this was a contest, for example, here, let's kind of go like this so you can kind of see what that looks like. If this was a contest, there would be, like, just many people listed on this band map here, and then you can just, like, click, and boom, it QSYs. I can work the person really quick. Boom, click here, work that person, click here, it QSYs super fast, and you'll be able to work folks. So probably not the best weekend to demonstrate this, because it looks like the RIDI contest is in full swing. So, but that's okay. There's stuff out here for sideband also. So, like, here, let's do a new log, and let's do something like let's do CQ's WPX sideband contest, just for the heck of it. I'm just gonna some random thing. So now you can see over here that all of these are in blue. These were spotted, and these are blue because I haven't worked them yet. When I QSY to this person right here, actually, they should be red if they're spotted. So if I QSY to this person right here, I can work them, and if I do Y, actually, I don't even need to do that. You can just click right here, puts their stuff in here, and then I can work them. And then, as you see, as I work them, they turn gray, so I don't have to worry about them anymore. Now, let's say I'm over, we're going to kind of, like, as you can kind of see the blue slider come down a little bit in the band map. Let's say I'm, like, in some random frequency, and I'm, like, working somebody. It's like ON4UN, for example. It's like, oh, it's now red. I need to work this person. I do work them. Do 599. He gives me, like, a 3 or whatever. And then I'm like, oh, wait a second. He's not hearing me. He's like, QRZ, what? Who was that? Kilo 9 what? Kilo 9 what? And I end up not working ON4UN. When I move away from that frequency, you'll be able to see it says, it's in bold, then it says new. That means I haven't worked them. So I can, like, kind of work my way down the band, work more countries, and then if I want to see if that maybe his frequency, his signals, his, like, kind of, like, came up, and want to see if he can, maybe he's had a massive pileup and I couldn't get through with my 100 watts. Let's see if the pileup's gone. You can just click right there, boom, QSY immediately right there, and then see if you can work them again. And then, of course, you can just do boom like that. They're going to give me maybe a 5. And then there you go. So it's kind of really cool, and it's really the power of the packet cluster, which is this thing that's going on in the background, which, quite frankly, I just keep minimized because there's no reason to really look at it. I just have it up here for you guys to check out. Whoops. Um, it just keeps on putting stuff out there. And because all of the packet clusters, and there's something called a DX spider, like all of these networks are all interconnected and combined. And since we have the beauty of the internet, all of that stuff just combines and comes together, and it's really cool. The interesting thing is, here, let's put that back up. I didn't mean to close that because I wanted to show. There we go. So I connect to, I think it's VE7CC's cluster. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is, you can pull up these various packet clusters. Like, for example, I'll just go here. I have a shortcut up here at the top of my screen called DX Heat, and this is a different version of somebody doing like a cool graphical representation of what comes across the packet cluster. Let's see here. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that either. So yeah, well, let's see. I have a couple of things, and you can do this in the packet cluster software, like with VE7CC on the telnet side, like the old-fashioned way to do stuff like that. But if you go with a graphical representation like this, you can easily select different things that you want to or don't want to see. As you can kind of see, I don't like spots from W3LPL. I think some of them are not correct, and if he's hearing them, I'm probably not. I'd like valid DXCC stuff and other DXCC, because there's like maybe some pirate stations I'd like to know about just for the heck of it. You can see that I have CW only shown as a mode. I should probably, if I click on this, or let's see here, yeah, click on it, and I click all, that'll show me all the modes. So everything that's going on here, I'm going to be able to see. And you can kind of see, like in the old packet cluster window here, what's the last spot right there? UT1EK, oh, nope, Z35 Tango. So Z35 Tango should be showing up here. There's probably a little bit of a delay. Let's see here. There's VE3CMI, UT1EK, R2EA. There's SQ. So yeah, you can kind of see there's a little bit of a lag and a little bit of a sync, but for the most part, most of the spots kind of go back and forth. Now, there are some packet, I guess, there's different, like, there's one packet cluster, DX Spider. There's, I think, VE7CC has his own type of thing. If you go to something like, what was it, DX Summit, I think it is. DXSummit.fi. Same thing, right? So that what they're doing is they're aggregating information, and I might have different filters in here. I can't remember what I've chosen. Oh, I guess I chose everything. We'll clear all the filters. Let's see what we've got here. If you share a spot within DX Summit, it doesn't necessarily go out to the greater packet cluster world. So you might not, if you share a spot within my DX Summit, it's not necessarily going to go to folks that have N1MM running and are connected to the VE7CC cluster. So there is some oddities with, not all the spots go everywhere all the time. But by and large, if you're connecting to something like VE7CC, I think they've got connectivity to just about everything, which is cool. Yeah. Oh, wow, there's Tanzania 5H3MB. I don't even see them here. No, I sure don't. So that's kind of interesting. So you'll see some stuff in this whole ecosystem here on DX Summit that might not exist in the regular DX cluster world. So, but yeah, that's kind of how that works. There is, like I said, there's like some old school stuff that we still have to contend with. If you saw my video on serial ports and how they work. We still kind of have some callbacks to the old school ways of doing things, and we still use something called Telnet, which is actually probably not as much of a used protocol on the internet as it once used to be, but we still use it as hams to be able to get raw text-based information by connecting to computers. So if you have any questions on the DX cluster or packet, or maybe I should probably do a quick video on connecting N1MM to the cluster, let me know if you think that'd be helpful, and I'll make a video. But it's not super difficult, so and there's a lot of documentation out there. So let me know if you would like that or you'd be interested in that kind of information. But this is packet, or no. This is the DX cluster. Used to be able to be connected to and through via packet radio VHF. Those days, I don't even know if there's a lot of nodes around anymore that really do any packet stuff. But kind of like the neat thing, here I'll show you one more thing. Like for example, if I connect it to my local DX cluster node, if I just do a telnet dxc.k9aj.net, put in my call sign. Before really email was a thing, we could do things like sh/u to show users, and it'll tell you all the people that are connected to the packet cluster. And it used to be like a lot of folks that were connected to the VHF part of the packet cluster, so you can see who's connected via VHF, and then you can like send them messages and stuff like that. There's like a little mailbag that you can send somebody a broadcast message. You could see who's connected to other clusters that are connected within this K9AJ cluster. So kind of neat thing. But that's it for the Cinderella story. How does this relate to CW? Well, if you're doing a CW contest and you want to maximize your score, being able to QSY quickly and have intelligence and information on where DX is and participate in the whole assisted category, this is how that works. And this is what the whole cluster, DX cluster, packet cluster, DX spider, all of that stuff, this is how that works. So hopefully this was helpful. CW on, my friends. Keep on going.